Hey Marvel Live, it's the Triple J squad up here, Justin, Jamie, and Josh. And that's who we are, but more importantly, we're here with Dana Gould.
How are you?
Dana Gould.
Hello, hello.
I'm with the Jays. I've made it.
You've made it with the Jays.
Welcome.
Comedian, writer, podcast, you do it all.
Well, I do those three. I don't know if that's all.
That's a lot. So right now you're here at Comic-Con celebrating the season 2 of Stand Against Evil.
Season 3.
Season 3.
Yeah.
Season 3 of Stand Against Evil.
Yeah, we premiere on, season 3 premieres on Halloween night on IFC.
Fortuitous.
Yes, exactly. Season 2 drops on Hulu August 17th, so you can catch up. And the premise of the show is very simple. I'm a comedian and a comedy writer, but I've been a horror geek all my life. And it took me forever to come up with the simplest idea, which was, why not combine them?
Nice.
I mean,
And
I think comedy and horror go hand in hand.
They do, but they're laughing and screaming are cousins. They're
Right.
involuntary reflexes that reduce tension.
Right. And I think comedy has such a good place in horror because sometimes you need to just break the tension a little bit.
Absolutely, and they're even both of when you're filming, they're called gags, whether it's a
Right.
laugh beat or a scare beat. So how's the gag work? But it took me a while to come up with a premise that would allow me to do both, because sometimes they do things that are like they're really funny but they're not that scary, or they're really scary and they're not that funny, and I wanted to do both. And basically I came up with this premise of, what if my dad, who's Archie Bunker without the elegance and sophistication.
Oh, wow, sick burn.
It's true.
Wow.
What if he was Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Like, what if Archie Bunker had to fight monsters? And it's not that he didn't believe in him, he just didn't care.
Right.
And that was the premise, and the show came from that. Yeah.
That is great. So I take it you kind of appreciate where Evil Dead is coming from, stuff
Yes,
like that.
I love all of that. Our show is, if the Evil Dead is the Three Stooges in a splatter movie, I aspire to be what if the Coen brothers made a horror movie? It's a little more quirky and bizarre in that regard. I try to be, but I love them both. I'm not they're all great.
Yeah, it's a good small town scariness. I've always been a big fan of the small town scariness because everybody knows everybody, and that's how rumors get started.
That's exactly what it is, and it's really designed like a early '70s drive-in horror movie. It feels very Last House on the Left. But there are demons and monsters in it. All practical effects. It's not smeared with CGI.
Right.
We have guys in suits, guys in prosthetics, and we have a goo cannon. And and this season we have a Godzilla episode. We have an X-Files episode. We have a Night Stalker homage. It's definitely a show for people. It's a show for people that like shows like this.
You mentioned practical effects, and that's the second time this has kind of come up over the weekend on our Marvel live stream. Do you think people are returning to practical effects, like in general? Do you think that it's becoming like a hot thing to do?
I think so, because I'm watching, certain movies. Once you can do anything, there's no stakes in anything.
Smart.
And and for me, I can always tell when it's fake. I can always tell. And the show that this feels like more than anything is An American Werewolf in London. And the reason that is still works is because the effects are practical and your eye knows it's real. And humor only works in reality. And so when it looks fake, the air goes out of it. That's my opinion.
Very smart.
Yeah. I could be wrong. I know for me what works.
Yeah.
Who would be your favorite Marvel character, and which superpower would you like to have on the stand-up stage?
Well, my favorite Marvel character when I was a kid was Spider-Man. As I get older, I think the Hulk would actually come in a lot handier. I do think it would be great to... A superpower I wish I had outside of stand-up would be, I like to fly, but only 4 feet off the ground. I think that would just be super annoying. But just like, excuse me, sorry. The ability to silence hecklers with a look is not one I've mastered yet, but I'm trying.
That 4 feet above the ground is the perfect kicking height
Yeah.
for hecklers.
Yeah,
so.
but just flying, chasing somebody through downtown. Just sorry, excuse excuse me, sorry. Excuse
Would you lead with your feet or lead with your chest?
No, I'd go full that way for you.
But just at 4 feet above the
Yeah,
ground.
exactly.
I feel like you could, with enough practice, someone could use you as like a workspace at that point. You're just in hover mode.
And seeing you come down like a busy thoroughfare, you just see people partying like, oh no, he's coming.
So which Marvel character do you think could actually have a really good supernatural assist to Stan?
Oh, well, the Hulk is a very gothic, he's a werewolf.
Right.
So I think or She-Hulk.
Sweet.
But he's very much like a supernatural character. He is basically a werewolf.
Jekyll and Hyde, the mild-mannered at times and then a monster in others. Yeah.
Although mild-mannered, but how many mild-mannered scientists do you know who wear purple pants?
Yeah, that's a different kind of personality altogether. That takes a lot of confidence.
I just imagine
confidence.
every day opens up the closet and just
Purple
a sea of purple pants.
Right?
Nothing but purple. It's like the uniform, but that's some uniform.
So your comedic background started at age 17. You worked in huge shows as The Simpsons, Parks and Rec, Ben Stiller Show.
Yep.
Talk us through that journey and how you got here to Stand Against Evil.
I started doing comedy right out of high school and did it all through college. Ended up in, I just kept working all the time because it's really the only thing I know how to do. And I ended up in Los Angeles in late 80s, early 90s. And my friends were just my friends that I came up with in Boston, Janine Garofalo, and through Janine I met Bob Odenkirk and Janine's boyfriend, Rob Cohen, and we were all just hanging out. And then we met Ben Stiller, and he did the show, and we all did the show because we were just all together when it happened. So it was just like, well, you want to do it? You want to do it? And so much of your career is dictated just by the people that you know and are hanging out with at the time. Rob Cohen went on to be a director and directed season 3 of Stand Against Evil. We were doing shows, and I became friends with George Meyer, who was a Simpsons writer that would come to the show. When I realized that I really enjoyed writing and I wanted to make that a part of my career, through knowing George, I got on The Simpsons. So the only advice that I give to people is do what you think is funny. This Standing Against Evil is all stuff that I think is funny. Like, there's a Kolchak the Night Stalker reference, and is everybody gonna get this? No. I will, yeah. We have the Mothra twins in an episode.
The Mothra twins.
Yeah. Who's gonna like it? I don't care. I love it. And just keep doing things. Things lead to things. That's all I can say.
Of all the years you've worked on The Simpsons, have you, and your love for horror, have you ever worked on one of the Treehouse of Horror episodes?
I worked on all of the Treehouse of Horror episodes that I was there for, but I never specifically wrote on any one of them. But we all work on them. But they were always my favorite episodes by far.
Yeah,
and my favorite one was before I got there, was season 8's parody of the Omega Man, and then I believe it was season 22nd's parody of the Orson Welles War of the Worlds broadcast. Those are my favorites.
Oh man!
When it comes to comedy, you've been in comedy for some time.
400 years.
For exactly 100 years. And so how do you stay current and stay fresh and keep kind of cranking out hits? Because I'm looking at the resume here and it's pretty spotless.
Well, I take stuff off it. Well, it's just by being. I don't think about my past career, so I'm always considering myself from the ground up. I recorded an album last year called Mr. Funny Man, and that was an hour material that's out the door, and you have to start fresh. You have to stay involved in the world, and I have children, I'm divorced, I have a girlfriend, she has kids, and you just take whatever you're going through at the time, and that's where you get your comedy from. The idea of eventually becoming like a cool old guy, I'd do that. But I just keep I think the way to stay current is I never rest on stuff I've done. The minute I've done it, I discount it.
And yet you're moving on to a season 3 of a great series.
Yeah, but
So-
and that's what I'm doing now. I'm not like, I was on The Simpsons for a long time. Like, that's
Yeah.
over, that's done. This is what I'm doing now.
This is super fun stuff. And I mean, this is right up my alley. I think comedy.
My
and
show
horror-
is my favorite show.
Yeah, that's a good way to approach your own
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
So it's. I think about horror-based comics, and did you ever read horror-based?
Oh yeah,
comics?
and I still have them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have all the ECs. I have creepy, eerie, Tales of the Crypt. I have all of those. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think comedy and horror are just. I know I said this before, but I really think that they are the best partners. What other genres do you think go hand in hand that well?
Oh, that's a really great question. I think that musicals and romance movies. It's hard to do a musical. It's not about a relationship. I would like a James Bond musical would be really fascinating. Like just a song about a car chase. Would be a really great idea. But it's hard because you have to go to what are the emotions that are connected,
Right.
You know, and it's so funny when they try to make horror action movies, they don't really work. Like they tried to redo The Mummy as a big action franchise, and it's not. It's a small. These are small stories. Stand Against Evil takes place in a small town. John Carpenter's The Thing takes place in a small group of huts. You know, you don't need a vast canvas to tell a horror story. It's people trapped in a house, people stuck in a town. You know?
I always loved Alien for that. It's just like, to me, the sci-fi and the horror in that is just so perfect. And when you say that small, the enclosure of that is just so like,
it's a perfect movie.
Creeps me out.
It's a perfect movie. You know, and even movies that you think are huge aren't.
Right.
I just watched one of my favorite movies, the original Planet of the Apes. It takes place in 7 rooms. It's like a field, 7 rooms, and a beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Well, this has been eye-opening. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah,
I
thanks,
really
Peter.
enjoyed it.
This is a great conversation. Your career is just like legendary. Well, that is it for Josh and me. This has been awesome. Justin will be staying around with you, and
We'll be back in a minute.
yeah, he'll be back in a minute.